very first episode. I'm Emery Wolf, to my left is Nick Lamb, and we are just two camera guys. A show where we're going to talk all things camera, as well as have interviews with different camera people working throughout the industry. I guess kind of maybe the first place we need to start off for the show is a little introductions of ourselves. Nick, do you want to start?
Well, I'm kind of really hoping, like, what I want to get out of the show is Emery and I have these conversations because there's not a ton of camera guys, but like we'll phone each other up. We'll just talk about lenses. We'll talk about what cameras coming out, um, what kind of projects we've been editing, working on lately, and stuff like that. So to me, we just kind of were thinking, why don't we just record these conversations that we've been having about all kinds of camera equipment, all kinds of. It always turns into probably more philosophical because we're always talking. It's than it needs to, but yeah, we really want to talk what kind of cameras not are just out now, but what kind of stuff we're using, what kind of even gear we're thinking of using, and then gonna interview different camera people to kind of hear their story, how they got started, why they are a camera person, what kind of camera person they are. Are they a sports operator? Are they making videos, shooting news, whatever.
We're going to have a little bit of fun too. I think we're going to play some games, at least between you and I, Nick, which hopefully gives it a little bit of entertainment value and maybe makes the show something a little bit different than what you would typically see on the other camera influencer people throughout the industry. Anyways, with that said, Nick, what's kind of your background? What got you started with camera stuff, and how does that kind of look?
It's actually, well, it's Emery and I kind of have a similar start where we both got started in the film industry and worked in there for several years, probably close to 10 for me. And then started making videos like the thing everybody dreams of, corporate videos. And I've been doing that for a long time now. So yeah, basically I've just been making corporate videos, advertising, safety stuff. It's like um it's more of a one man band kind of stuff where you're your camera operator, your own director, your own editor, kind of everything. Which really does keep it interesting. And then on some of the bigger shoots, you can hire different camera people out and make turn into a full fledged production.
What's maybe a little bit unique about your situation in particular too is you're 100% freelance.
Yes.
So everything you do is your own business, as well as you work out in Moose Jaw, which is an even smaller market than Regina. And Regina is already a pretty small market for this kind of work. So is there some stuff along that area that sort of makes things a little maybe more interesting or complex for you?
Yeah, well, it's more about traveling. It really is. Like, you just have to be prepared to travel wherever the work takes you. Like, if it takes you to Regina, great. If it takes you to someplace closer, that's great. But just wherever the work takes you.
Cool. As for myself, my name's Emery Wolf. I really started my whole camera story going to film school way back in like 2001, I think is when I started. Um, from film school, I actually started working in the film and television industry here, actually alongside Nick as well. Nick did both those things as well. Um,
Got out of
and
film school though.
yeah, Nick is a college dropout, just like Kanye. Um, And yeah, in 2009, I think I started my own business to just so that I could start taking more control of the video work I was doing some small stuff. And then yeah, unlike Nick, I don't rely on camera work for my full-time job, particularly now. So I work for an
Smart.
association in town, yeah, which actually pays my bills, which is great. And slowly over time, I've changed what I've done from video to more landscape photography stuff because it's just what I enjoy a lot of more now.
Well, yeah, your landscape photography stuff. You've got a partner that you do that with, so there's two of you. But that's really taken off. Like, I'm not saying it's shocking, but like it's really cool how big of a following you guys have with that.
Yeah, it's funny. I I always kind of knew something like that would actually like do pretty well. Um, and we're not the first people to do this either. Uh, but yeah, so I run a page called Chasing Yesterday with a partner of mine, Susan. Susan probably does like 90% of the work realistically for it, which is why we have the following. Um, and yeah, like for me, it was just an outlet so that I could start doing more photography, had more reason to do it. And, really so that my mom could see my work. And the irony of it now with it being the size it is, I think we have almost 25,000 followers,
That's awesome.
which is, yeah, it's probably one of like the biggest pages in Saskatchewan, at least for photography goes. And yeah, the irony of it being that large now is I don't even really realize when my mom sees stuff now. So now I have to call her to make sure she sees it.
Well, the thing that Susan does really well with that page, and the thing that I think has helped make it so popular, is it takes your photography and then she tells an interesting story over it. So it's always got a story attached to a photo, which is I'm not saying that's new, but it really does add to it.
Yeah, for sure. And Susan actually, she again talking about her doing 90% of the work. Most of the photos people see on there are from her, and they're actually done on her iPhone. Um, but yeah, like telling the stories, going to these places, and actually talking to people, and relaying those stories back is our bread and butter. It's what we were built on for sure. So yeah, that's a little bit of background on myself and Nick, real quick. And yeah, getting right into things. Maybe it's a good idea to talk to another camera guy and get their sort of background and what they've done. So joining us today is a CBC cameraman, our good friend Matt Howard. Hey Matt,
Thanks for having me.
how are you doing?
Yeah, very good. Thanks. Yep.
You're holding up in these COVID times?
Do you know what? In my line of work, it's been busier than normal. So I've been very fortunate in that sense. I work in news, and yeah, my connection with you guys is that I was also on the Pat's crew at one point. So we've all kind of worked together. I did after the Pat's stuff. I did get back into, well, I say get back into news, but I transitioned into news, and it's become like a Monday to Friday sort of thing for me. So
So
yeah,
you're full time with that right now. Are you still making videos and stuff?
I still make videos. I do quite a bit of backfill in the studio. And then otherwise, yes, I'm a videographer. So editing a couple of shoots normally a day. And then our crunch time's around about 3 o'clock. That's when we get down to the editing and make the
Wow,
show.
you do 2 shoots a day that you edit?
Yeah, three shoots. I mean, they're very it's kind of very refined shoots, Nick. It's not like there's a whole ton of lighting in there. It's you get the nitty gritty, you get in there and build out a couple of scenes basically with different shots, and you get back and get that tape ingested.
Yeah, actually,
Wow.
one thing we'll have to talk about another time, Nick, is the use of the iPhone out in the news world. I know I've seen Matt do it. I personally feel like it's kind of like the death of the cameraman, but I think that's a topic for another day.
Yeah, I
Anyways,
think like let me defend the iPhone a little. Because so I have got the iPhone 11 now, the Pro, which has the 3 built-in cameras. But I don't necessarily like using it as an A cam, but as a B cam or a cutaway cam, it is super brilliant in my field because it gives us other options in the edits to quickly ingest it. So from a news point of view, it's pretty good. Corporate stuff, film stuff, short films. I don't know. I'm still a bit wary about that. I still feel like you need to light stuff. You need to have a good sensor. Um, you need to have a camera that's not going to take over and go crazy in auto mode.
Well,
Um,
that's the hilarious part. Like, if you were gonna film something without lights on my camera, it would just look noisy and not that great. But I bet you that your iPhone probably would actually outperform it in the really low light.
yeah, you still see that that graininess in the low lights. I mean, my shooting's normally daylight. A lot of it's daylight. So outside in the outside world, it does pretty good. It holds up really well. The stabilizing on it now is phenomenal. Like, I think as a technical person, you could probably tell the difference, but for the average person watching TV, it's amazing that you don't have to have a gimbal now. So you can take that phone anywhere, sling it around, and it's pretty smooth. It's pretty good. It's a
Yeah,
good versatile tool to throw in your bag now, or have
what
in your pocket.
what I think it does, like with your average Joe citizen out there shooting, all of a sudden we're gonna get like a million times more of the content, and I don't think it's going to matter as much anymore. The lighting and all those things that we work on it, and that's sort of why I figure, like, it's the death of the camera. We're the last of the camera people out there, in sort of my opinion, which isn't I don't know if that's a good
Optimist.
thing or a bad thing. Yeah, not too sure. Didn't want to get so dark in these times.
Yeah.
Way to force that on me, guys. Let's get Matt's story out there. I
Okay.
think for the people watching, they've probably noticed that Matt has an accent that isn't exactly Canadian here, like Nick and I. So Matt, when we actually met you, I don't think I knew your name was Matt for like the first 3 years I knew you. I just knew you as English. So how did you? What's your story? How did you end up coming to Canada and taking film over here? How did your interest start with it?
So I did, this was way back in 2005 when I first started university. I went and did a film and TV degree in the UK. The first part of the year, we were introduced to studying abroad, and I quite fancied going to either Canada or the US. And the only choice for Canada was the University of Regina. So I came on the exchange to the U of R I came in September of 2006 and left in December. I did the film course here. I think I did a black and white photography course as well. Yeah, and the film program over here was pretty phenomenal compared to back in England. And I went back home. I did meet a lady while I was here, so I did come back. Yeah, and do you know what? Like, I've been fortunate to work in a whole different array of film, broadcast, corporate stuff, and I'm back here. And Regina is a pretty small town. I feel like I've done pretty well to get a good job here, and still working in the field. So that's good for me.
What was it like for you starting out in Regina here with all this stuff? Was it kind of intimidating?
I think once I sort of broke the ice and realized we were going to be stationed here, yeah, it was tough. I came just as the tax credit sort of got crunched back in 2011. I ended up working not in the field that I was doing. I was a courier for a little while. And then after that, I ended up working in the plant. And then what brought me back was live sports. I was actually doing some odd stuff, getting back into camera, and I'd met some connections. Mutual friend of ours, Ryan. Just before that, I'd got asked to come and try a go at hockey, and I'd never obviously filmed that before, being British. I kind of had to learn the rules quick. A lot of questions asked, and why people running off and on ice. Yeah, it was fascinating, and it was so quick. I've never seen a sport played so quickly before. It's like, and even still, sometimes it's so tricky to follow the puck, literally, and look through a viewfinder and try and chase something happening that quick. There's lots of action happening. So yeah, so I got into hockey, and it was hockeys and rodeos for a long time, and finally I met somebody that retired from CBC, and they told me to put my name in for contract work with them. And it would have been, at that point, it would have been casual work. And I ended up doing a little bit of new stuff for them and getting more and more work with them.
Cool. If there was one thing that you could be doing, so you've done a pile of stuff all throughout your career here. If there's one thing that you could be doing, and that was like the one thing you did, what would it be?
I think I really enjoy shooting, for one. So whether it's behind the camera or on set, the production stuff. I've come to terms with I don't think I could concentrate on one genre. I like the small crew stuff. It really like intrigues me because you'll be wearing a couple of hats and thinking about different things and going with the flow. The thing that I really enjoy about news is it's so run and gun that sometimes you have to take a breath and realize what you're going into, and you're still trying to storytell in its essence, but you've got to make really, really quick decisions, and it can't be refined. It's kind of raw how it is. So for a camera operator, there's never a better time to sort of learn that.
Oh yeah.
You're thrown under, and you've got to kind of come out with usable footage on the other side. So it makes you shoot a lot better. It also really bugs you that you can't perfect it, and also you can't really fix stuff in post. But I've tried many a times. I guess you still can't fix focus, but we'll get there someday.
Yeah.
How
for
long
sure.
do you have to turn it around though? From when you shoot it to you get back, how long do you have?
So depending on the story, like if it needs to be aired that day, sometimes you get a turnaround of a couple of hours, but you'd be scheduled maybe from anywhere from like 30 minutes to an hour and 30, depending on what the story is. Now, we obviously have different formats that we do for our TV show. Sometimes the host reads over some of the stuff, so it's just basically visuals. So we'll cut together a montage. I mean, that can be thrown together in 10, 15 minutes. Other stuff is where it's all voiced and recorded, and you're assembling stuff with a script, and that can take up to an hour. So it gets you very refined in that sense that you're working on stuff, you're cutting things together, and sometimes you're just missing those final things that you would do on a corporate or a feature.
Mm-hmm.
What's up? Sorry,
So,
Matt.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, what is there a particular story that you've done that really piqued your interest a lot, that you thought was like, wow, this is just fascinating?
Recently, we've done a story on snow beef, and we're still working in the edit with that one. So snow beef is this is a cow that's being bred from a Holstein and a Wagyu, so the beef out of Japan. And so it's a very prairie Japanese cow. But the reason why they do it is because the meat is so fantastic. It's so marbled, so juicy. So that was kind of cool because we got to go to the farm, which was just outside of Moose Jaw, and we got to go to the farm, talk to the farmer. He was really good fun, and shoot the cows. And then the following week, we went to a restaurant in Regina that uses the beef, Crave Kitchen, and we got to see the chef, who is actually an acclaimed. What would he be? He's won competitions throughout Canada, and he basically cooked up some steak for us, some of this steak, and we got to try it against.
That's different from me and Emery. We're self-proclaimed. This guy is actually proclaimed.
Yeah. No, he was. He was. I mean, fantastic. Like just the way he moved around the kitchen, it was like a dance kind of thing. So.
Do you have a story of like a news story where like you go out to shoot it and you're just like, why am I here? Can you even say that?
Yeah.
No, I think so. I mean, okay, so I mean, today would be a good example of it. My last shoot today was a person that unfortunately there was a death in Regina today, and it's not determined what it is, but the police now report it a few hours afterwards. So once the crime scene's all taken care of and there's nothing around, so I'm asked to go and get visuals of a crime scene that no longer exists. So basically, I was reading through the police release there, and it said in the snow in a certain block. And when I get there, it's just an open piece of land and there's nothing there. So for me, it's getting tricky now because I know the media have recently had the scanners taken away, which is what they would have heard these calls on before from the police. But sometimes you get to these scenes and it's like, well, okay, there's a street sign over there. I'll get a shot of that, and there's an open road. But like, as in terms of storytelling now, it's not that, how can you portray that in images?
So this sort of thing happens fairly often then?
Yeah, it has now. Yeah. There's quite a few deaths, unfortunately, in Regina. So
I meant more just like going out to a location and there's really like no story for you there.
It can be like that, yeah, sometimes. Yeah. And with news happening so fast, sometimes the communication gets lost and somebody's elsewhere, or somebody's, it's an interesting chase sometimes.
I was just going to say, is that a big problem with the news going too fast nowadays, like having to react so quick?
I think our saving grace is like social media normally steers us in the right direction. Somebody says something, we can follow up with them. We've got accounts, like people are very on the phones now, so videos are made. If something,
you have a mutual friend that sends in those videos?
Well, it's surprising how many people do send in. Are you sending in those videos, Nick?
No, Jordan sends those videos in.
Yeah, I think that he did the Walmart fire, right?
Yeah.
In the North End. That's how he got his name.
That's how he's made it big time.
Yeah, so I mean, that's the case. Like we use a lot of user-generated content now, so which is interesting because a lot of it's in the vertical format, and then we've got to try and turn that around very quickly to get it to air, and try and stabilize it sometimes, and try and salvage sound from it other times. There's been other times where we've had like the perpetrators are kids, so we've had to mask all of the faces. There was one incident, unfortunately, in the summer where a group of youths sort of mobbed an older person, and we had like 6 or 7 youths that we had to mask, and they were just all over the screen, and they needed that out right away. So it does bring up some interesting problems.
Death and mobs, Matt. I think you're bringing up all the reasons why I don't watch the news.
Yeah.
But we do get some good stories out of it, I must say. And some of the days that we do work on the good stories, it's really fun to work in.
How do you keep yourself inspired day to day to keep with it?
I think there's always that challenge, right? There's always that one shot that you're trying to get, something to look nice. You're always waiting for just that je ne sais quoi, I think as all camera people, really, we're all trying to get that ideal shot, whether it's like nature or sunset or landscape, as trying to find the right time to do it, or being in the right place in the right moment. I think that still inspires me.
Do you do anything with your camera, like for yourself, to try and keep yourself inspired, or?
A lot of photography with the kids, because I have 2 kids. I don't really go out much. I've been out with you a few times, but I haven't made any long trips just to do photography. And then when my wife is originally from a farm, so I love to take photos out there. It's just so different, and it's definitely a different landscape than I've ever seen before. So when we go into the heart of the prairies, it is it's fun, and it's like it's a challenge to what lens do you shoot the open prairies with, the widest you've got, I suppose, but you have to be kind of creative with it too.
So doing some landscape stuff, be honest, would you rather shoot Saskatchewan or England?
Oh, for England, for sure. Yeah. We have a bit of rolling hills. You can add a bit of depth. You know, it's funny the first week that I was doing news because I was trying to scout out. We do weather shots, and I'm trying to scout out what's going to be the best vantage. And it's always Douglas Park Hill, isn't it? Really, because that's how you get a look over the city.
Mm-hmm.
So anywhere you can get one. I've found a new one actually just off the bypass, and if you're at the right place, you can. Everything sort of looks down into Regina, so you can get on the top of the bridge there and pull your vehicle over in a safe spot and walk across, and you get a nice sort of look. And you can see the houses, the suburbs, and you can see the downtown in the background.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, it's fun trying to find, because you're working in the same city every day. It's fun trying to find the little hidden gems, I suppose.
So going back to sort of one of Nick's original questions, just because we're kind of talking about it, what is the camera that you're using nowadays for your work?
I use a Sony ENG camera, PMW 500. We've also got on loan from Toronto at the minute a C300 that I've been fiddling around with, which is really
Is that one raw? C300?
It does shoot RAW, yes. I believe so. I haven't got it into RAW yet, just because we don't have that workflow.
Yeah.
I've shot a little bit of log on it, which is nice to handle. C-log's always really good. I've also shot some. I really like the S&F. It basically shoots 60 frames down into compressed 30 in camera, so it does all that for you. So I've shot a bit of that for B-roll, which has been really fun. However, it doesn't give you audio with that.
So it does. Oh, so it's putting it in slow motion basically for you.
Yeah,
is what it's doing. Okay.
Yeah, I think it stands for slow and fast.
Because yeah, I've got the C200, and it'll do that for 120 frames. It'll put it down to it's either 29.97 or 23.976. I can't remember.
Okay.
Yeah, I know you have the Sony A7 for your own personal use as well, Matt. What camera do you actually prefer to use out of all of those?
I think I'm very acquainted with the A7, but I've just never found an ideal audio setup for it. And I've been using the Atmos a lot with the Sony A7 S2, which kind of alleviates that, but it's a very it's a hard to manage rig, I find. Like if you're doing handheld stuff, if you're moving in and out and stuff, the picture I just love using S-Log, and even in its sort of native form, it's got some good profiles on there. Yeah. ENG, I mean, you've got that sort of robustness to it. It's
now, do you have to shoot 29.97? You can't shoot at any other frame rate, can you?
We're at 60 frames, 59.
Oh, you're 60 frames now?
Yeah, on that. That's how we ingest on those Sonys. Yeah. Yeah, it's a broadcast
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
So is your output 60 frames?
Yeah. 16.94. Yeah. We record to MXF and it ingests in that way.
Oh, interesting. I didn't realize that.
I guess that's the thing with news. It's always set as it is. So I don't fiddle with anything like the frame.
Yeah, you didn't come up with any ideas? I've been thinking of changing the frame rate. What do you guys think of it?
But I mean, it's sort of...
Because you could... That's the part that I don't fully... I guess it's just easier. Less transcoding, less fiddling around.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I know it would have been a sports thing at one point, and whether it never changed from CBC Sports to that, I'm not sure why it would still be in 60 frames. What the advantage is, I will ask about
that. I actually wonder if it's not just like a slight sharpness thing on some of the motion.
Yeah, could well be that too. Yeah.
Yeah, then you could slow it down too, if you ever needed to.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little bit surprised you didn't say that the iPhone 11 was your favorite to shoot news on.
Oh man, that's so stills now. And I got 3 lenses on that thing.
Yeah. Would they hire you if you didn't have one?
An iPhone, I got given it. I got given it, so.
Oh, oh, nice.
Yeah, I use
That's
it
cool.
for work purposes. Yeah, the wide angle, it gives you lots of field of view, and they're all in multiples. So I think it's 13 mil, 26, and 52 for your 2 times on there.
Nice.
Cool. You know, we've talked. I think everybody's got a pretty good look at how the news works for a camera guy. Is there anything else you think we might be missing, Matt, or you think people might be interested to know about how CBC News works?
I think for local news for CBC, and the thing that I found very different going to work for them is that the stuff that you're gathering doesn't necessarily end up just on TV. It turns out on all platforms. So they're using your audio as a source for radio. So your radio clips will get pulled. Likewise with social media, they'll take video, audio, and then we're also taking stills. So that's why we've got these iPhones, so we can just send out the emails right away. It's easy to do. So yeah, so we're kind of competing to put all our stuff on 4 or 5 different platforms. And that's just a general sort of thing that we do as part of our workflow. We've got to remember to take stills. We've got to remember the audio has to be really good. And then video as well. So there's a couple of things that you're thinking about in the process of filmmaking of news making, sorry.
You're kind of an example of how, like, once you get in there, Matt, you're just such a nice guy that, like, I don't want to say that's why. Obviously, you're talented and stuff like that, but like that's part of it that really helps in this. Like every crew that I've ever been on, it's always like, well, if we can get Matt out here, it'll just be amazing because it's like kind of brings up the morale of the whole crew and things like that. And yeah, I think it's a big part of it.
Yeah, I think like as well, you're only as good as your last gig, right? So I kind of still take that with me on day to day. And if you can make somebody laugh, well, why not? And just make somebody smile. Because it is a very tense situation, you know. You come out, you bring the camera, and thankfully we're on the other side of the camera, but it is intimidating. So if you can sort of, you know, just knock a bit of tension out the air, then you know that's kind of a win. And it always shows that too in the interview, even if whatever you say beforehand, and if you can manage to get somebody to calm down just a little bit, it does show, you know. I think, yeah, well, I've worked with you, Nick. I worked with you both actually, and you know, you guys sort of incorporate that too. Emery a little more tense than him, but yeah.
Well, I guess thanks for that, Matt.
Oh, yeah.
Although with that said, Matt, it is true. Just because you're such a good guy to work with, and that too, you're the unofficial third camera guy on our show that we started calling 2 camera guys. But so whenever we need a fill-in, you're going to be the guy we want to call.
Perfect. You call me up.
Perfect.
Nice. So we had an idea, Matt. Well, I wanted to do thing where we do like a little bit of a competition between me and Emery each show, where we'll come up with an idea for either it's just like a still image, a little piece of B-roll, and then we just kind of show it to each other.
Okay.
And although we'll probably just each end up voting for our own, so I don't know how it's actually going to work, but yeah, what should we do for the first one?
So like you bring a still image, you each bring in a still image. Why don't you get
a video?
A bit of a
guest to decide, or
Well, I think you'd be in it. So like next time we would have sent you an email and been like, hey, we're going to film church. It's either 5 seconds of B-roll or a still image.
Yeah.
And we're just going to show each other, just kind of show the different styles and how everybody's kind of got a different perspective of it.
I'd let the whoever you're interviewing, maybe, I don't know, because otherwise you're going to pick each other's. I think you're right there.
Yeah, let them vote. I think that's not a bad idea.
Oh, yeah.
Let that person pick.
And you could keep it anonymous so they don't feel embarrassed.
No. Well, the embarrassment's more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that said, Matt, what do you think should be like our challenge? What should Nick and I have to have shot before our next episode?
Lighthouses in Saskatchewan.
There's only one, Matt.
Lighthouses.
It's a long drive, Nick.
I would challenge you both. This is stills, right?
Or video. Like it could be either. It could be a piece of like a 5 or 10 second piece of B-roll or a video.
I would challenge you both to go to a location that the public can't get to. So whether you can wangle it through your contacts, and you have to provide either a landscape or still or piece of video, something that the general public can't get to.
I like it. I'm set. I'm going out this weekend.
Yeah.
In your face, Nick.
It's going to be a shot from Emery's kitchen. Yeah. The public technically can't get there.
Actually, too, Nick, we got to come up for a name for this little segment too. I was batting some stuff around, and I kind of like predator versus prey, wolf versus lamb.
Oh, wolf versus lamb.
Oh yeah,
that's funny.
So we should try and find some sponsorship for that. If it's predator,
I'm sure they'll be just clamoring to get on.
Yeah.
I wonder if you could get like a butcher to sponsor it as well. Wolf
That's actually a good idea.
It is not a bad idea. Cool. Well, Matt, I think with that, we'll let you go. Thanks again for doing the interview for us. Thanks again for that great Matt. Look at the news industry and what it's doing. And we'll be in touch again, Matt.
You're welcome. Yeah, you bet.
Thanks, Ben.
Yeah.
Well, again, thanks, Matt, for joining us. I think that pretty much wraps up our show for today. We don't need to get too heavily involved into anything. Is there anything you'd like to say before we close it down, Nick?
No, thanks for watching, checking it out.
Cool.
Yeah, it's fun. Good talking with you, Emery. Good talking with you, Matt.
Yeah, for sure. And we're going to continue this on. And as Nick had said before, really these things are just going to be our conversations we have. So things are going to go a little haywire, I think, at points in time. And we're going to go on rants and tears into things that probably don't matter to most people. But I hope people do find it enjoyable and entertaining, as well as I hope we really get like some really good stories, like some good stuff from that today. So I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah. Thanks, Emery.
Yeah. Thanks, Nick. And we'll see y'all later.
I feel like we've got it now.
A little bit. We're going to forget it by the next time we do it.
Well, not got it, but like, I feel like we're...
It's nice that we just did the ending in one take instead of 36,000.
Yeah. That's kind of my whole thing with camera thing, with everything, is like just try to get incrementally better. I got Matt to do a color chart for me once, and I wasn't paying attention, and Matt threw it in. I kid you not, he covered up, like, he somehow, like, he must have held it like this, but when I got it back, it was like 3 of the squares were completely covered.
Rookie out. Just... You thought that was me, Nick? I don't think it was me. Doesn't sound like me at all.
Look at this. He's got a fireplace in his office. Holy cow. CBC's been good to you. Man, I should send you a photo of what's actually behind here. Because it's like a filthy garage. Yeah, that works well.
So I shut my phone off, so I just got your picture now of your garage. You should have put that full garage shit in there. That looks awesome.
Yeah, it was tough. I came just as the tax credit sort of got crunched back in 2011. It was 2011, right? It was 2011. Yeah, 2011. Let's go with it. After the...
That 2000. Yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter.
I think, was it 2000?
I think it was like 2008, 2009.
Okay.
2003, you know. Or whatever, it doesn't matter.
Okay, let me rephrase that. So, yeah, it was quite difficult. I mean, I came...
It's not doing any edits.
No edits?
Well, whatever.
Oh, shoot.
Sorry.
So it's 2011, Matt.
Okay. So I came in 2011.
All right, so how do we want to actually end the show?
Thank Matt, thank our sponsors, Squarespace, and Casper, the mattress place.
Man, that's good.
Go to Squarespace/just2camera guys, get that 20% off code. Really helps us out.
Oh, Dick, that is way funnier than it should be.